Welcome back to the session of Alpha Bridge Technologies Private Limited. This is Mukesh. In this session, we shall discuss about static and dynamic MAC address test in Alpha Bridge version 2 switches. We will be performing this test on switch model AS200/28XF. The default IP address of the switch is 192.168.168.1 and the subnet is 24. Let's know the difference between static and dynamic MAC addresses. A static entry is manually added or configured and assigned to the network devices by the network administrators. But the dynamic MAC addresses are assigned automatically through the protocols like DHCP or ARP, etc. Static MAC address remains constant. The dynamic MAC addresses may change over to time. So the static MAC address has the high priority and the dynamic MAC address has less priority. Static MAC addresses are used in the scenarios such as where specific devices need to be identified consistently within the network like servers, etc. Dynamic MAC addresses are used in the scenarios where devices frequently join or leave the network. These are the differences between the static and dynamic MAC addresses. Open PuTTY via telnet or console and log into the switch with the credentials. For Alpha Bridge switches, the username and password are admin and admin by default. Now enter the command enable and then system view to go into the configuration mode. Now enter the command display MAC address table. Here it shows the both types of MAC addresses that are dynamic and static connected to that switch. Now I am connecting a PC to the switch so that it reads the dynamic MAC address. This is the dynamic MAC address of the PC. Now we can configure both the static and dynamic MAC address also. So let's configure dynamic MAC address for example. Enter the command MAC address table, dynamic, enter the MAC address, interface on a port. Here I am using port 2 for interfacing this MAC address on VLAN 1. Now this MAC address has been entered successfully. For seeing this MAC address, enter the command display MAC address table. This is the MAC address we assigned dynamically to the switch. Now let's configure static MAC address for example. MAC address table, static, and then enter the MAC address. Here I am using port 2 for interfacing this MAC address on VLAN 1. Now this MAC address is also entered successfully. For seeing the static MAC address, enter the command display MAC address table. This is the static MAC address on port 2. This is all about the static and dynamic MAC address test. Thank you.